How did Robert Downey Jr. go from a broke, drug-addicted, nearly homeless actor to becoming one of the biggest movie stars on the planet? Let's rewind. Robert's story begins in New York City when he's just 5 years old. His dad, Robert Downey Sr., is a filmmaker in the underground indie scene. Instead of hiring babysitters, he simply brings young Robert to movie sets and even casts him in his films. But behind the scenes, things were far from normal. In 1971, something happened that would define Robert's entire life. At just 6 years old, his father gave him his first joint and introduced him to drugs. His dad, already battling his own addictions, regularly left drugs and alcohol lying around the house. And before long, little Robert was using substances as early as he could remember. Fast forward to the 1980s. Robert is a teenager and fully addicted to cocaine. But despite all that, he's incredibly talented. His charm, humor, and natural screen presence land him real acting gigs. He even joins the cast of Saturday Night Live for a season. And in 1992, he stars as Charlie Chaplin in the biopic Chaplin. His performance is so strong, it earns him an Oscar nomination. Robert Downey Jr. is now a rising star in Hollywood. But it doesn't last. By the mid-90s, his addictions spiral out of control. He starts using heroin and crack. In 1996, police pull him over in Los Angeles. He's completely naked, hallucinating, and throwing imaginary rats out of his car. Shockingly, they let him go. But just weeks later, he's arrested again. This time with heroin, cocaine, and a loaded weapon. And it gets worse. While out on bail, he wanders into a random home, 17 houses away from his own, high out of his mind. He walks inside, strips down to his boxers, and passes out in a child's bed. The mother finds him, freaks out, and calls the police. Boom, he's arrested again. And suddenly the media turns on him. He becomes a national punchline. Over the next few years, Robert bounces in and out of rehab. At one point, his friend Sean Penn even breaks down his front door and forces him onto a private plane to a treatment center. But Robert escapes through a window days later and flies back, drinking on the plane. In 1999, he fails another court-ordered drug test and is sentenced to 3 years in prison. By the time he gets out, he's considered uninsurable in Hollywood. Studios won't hire him. He can't work. He loses his house, his car, his money, everything. Robert Downey Jr. is now broke, essentially homeless, crashing on friends' couches and forgotten by the industry. Then in 2003, a small opportunity comes up. He lands a role in the thriller Gattaca. The catch? He has to give up his entire salary to pay for his own insurance. But he takes it, because on that set, he meets producer Susan Levin. They fall in love, and eventually she gives him an ultimatum. It's me or the drugs. Robert chooses her. He checks into long-term treatment, therapy, and 12-step programs. It's hard, it's painful. But for the first time in his adult life, he gets clean. And he stays clean. Now 38 years old, Robert Downey Jr. is finally sober. But his problems aren't over. Hollywood still sees him as a risk. No one wants to bet millions on a guy with that kind of past. But one person believes in him. Jon Favreau, director of a new Marvel project called Iron Man. Jon sees Robert's audition and immediately says, "That's our guy. He is Tony Stark." The studio disagrees. They don't want to risk the future of Marvel Studios on a guy with Robert's track record, but Jon fights for him. Robert agrees to a small paycheck to prove he's serious. Eventually, the studio gives in, and in 2008, Iron Man hits theaters. It explodes, earning over $500 million worldwide. And just like that, Robert Downey Jr. isn't just back. He's bigger than ever. That one role launches the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, which becomes the highest-grossing film franchise in history. From child star to drug addict, from prison to poverty to global icon. Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback is one of the most incredible in Hollywood history, and it all started the day he decided to finally take control of his life.